And they talked about artists today that are making it realize that it's not about creating continuous engagement with their fans. He says it's about putting the work in, about the storytelling around the album, about the keeping in continuous dialogue with your fans. I feel really the ones that aren't doing well in streaming are predominantly people who want to release music the way it used to be released. So it's basically telling you that, you know, what I would call the currency method. When Currency was at his, I don't know if it's an apex or whatever you want to call it, like Fam was putting out projects left and right. They were mixtapes, they weren't necessarily albums, but the content and how often he put projects out, like he developed a core fan base and a cult following based off that. So the Spotify
it can work in both ways though. It can work in both ways. And
that's what I wanted to ask. Go ahead.
What I kind of see him doing as the CEO of Spotify, Spotify can be looked at as the new record labels per se, because everything that comes out goes to these streaming services. So he wants you to put more stuff out so that you use his streaming service more. On the flip side, the artist needs to put more stuff out in order to get more ears, more listeners, or avenues in order to sell their merch or whatever they want to do in order to kind of compensate for the lack of album sales and to promote tours whenever those come back into play.
Yep.
So I mean, I can kind of see it both ways. He's trying to be informative, but at the same time, he's definitely exercising his guns per se as the owner of Spotify, because he wants you to put as much out as you can. But you have an artist like Kendrick who hasn't dropped an album in 4 years, and he really doesn't have to, because he's made it to that apex in his career to where he can drop whenever he feels like it, and it's going to sell regardless. So
I look at it based upon what you're saying. I look at it in a different manner. To me, when I read this article, I see a CEO who doesn't want to pay artists more and wants to try to justify it.
Talk that talk.
I think that's a part of it, what you said, but at the same time, like, let's not dance around the fact that Spotify pays, and all streaming platforms pays artists shit when it comes per stream. And regardless of whether Spotify is a company that makes money or not, figure it the fuck out, man. Like, it's like, you know, it's just, to me, it like,
exactly.
I don't know what else to say to it. It's just
they're the worst by far. For what you just said, they're the worst by far.
I mean, they're not worse than YouTube. YouTube's way below everything.
They're not. Yeah, they're not worse than.
I'm talking about for actual streaming services. Right.
Yeah, when you see the Amazon Music and what Pandora pay
in comparison to Spotify, it's trash.
Yeah.
Look, they all pay trash. Look, this is what it is. Here, I'm gonna give the number here. I'm looking at it right now. Spotify pays you 0.0038 cents per play.
Come on, man.
So if your song plays 1,000 times, you get $3.80.
Come on,
artists, that's what you're doing right now.
Yep.
Now, if you're a big artist, maybe that makes sense to you. You know, when I'm looking at YouTube, you get 0.00 3 zeros and 0.00074 cents for every time your song gets played on YouTube.
That's bullshit. Now,
there's some people whose songs get played 500 million, 1 billion times, but those are very special artists. You know, some other artists, they get, you know, somebody watches your video 2 million times and you don't even get enough to where you're able to pay your rent.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
You know, think about it. I mean, now, mind you, in a way, it's better than what the system was, because let's just be honest, when you watched, you know, YoMTV Raps or you know, what was the show on BT?
The basement.
Yeah.
And
what's
the other one? You were 106 106 and Park.
I hate Long.
You weren't getting even those half of a penny when your video was being played on TV.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in a way, this is much more empowering, even though it on paper, it looks awful, and it is awful, because who really determines, like, and Joe has said this, and I've thought about it since he said it, really, why does somebody in in some office get to say how much a stream is worth?
That's
really, what is a stream worth?
On the flip side, though, on the video side, there was times where I watched a video and literally right after that video went off, walked to the record store and bought the album.
Yeah,
so
true.
You're not hearing a stream and then going to purchase the song per se, because if you're paying that $10 a month subscription, you have it anyway. You don't need to have the tangible item on you to
but it's
listen
not
to it.
It's not personalized anymore. There's no connection to the music now. One, because there's such an abundance, like there's so much music out now, you can't even get close to the music like you used to. And I don't want to sound, like I'm preaching.
It's true.
But,
it's true.
Old or whatever, but you can't get close to the music anymore. Like we used to really, literally you had to go buy it, open it up. I was a nerd. I read the liner notes. I wanted to know who produced it, what they sampled.
Yeah.
I looked through all of that. Like I was hype about doing that. Now it's like you literally go ahead.
No, I was just saying, but like there's a different investment level. Remember spending your $12 or $13.99 and getting the record home and be like, this is some bullshit.
Yeah.
Or
100%. I bought plenty of whack albums.
Where you bought that album and you sat with it for a year.
Yeah.
But
at the same time,
I mean, I listened to the new Locks album and it's like, okay, even,
you have to.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some joints on there that I like, but am I going to sit with it for the next 3 to 4 months or a year? No.
Go ahead, Lone. I'm sorry. I don't want you to lose your train of thought.
No, I mean, but everything that we're saying goes down. It keeps compounding on why this statement from Spotify CEO is so dangerous. But it keeps going back to why it's such a dangerous comment and why people, like, artists are in control and artists need to know that they're in control. And the best thing that an artist, especially upcoming artists, can do is control their own narrative, utilize these platforms, sell directly to their fans, and keep pressure on the streaming platforms. And, like there's no love for that. No love for that, that type of commentary.
Making an album is a process, So for somebody that's not a musician but is a businessman, essentially, that just uses music as their source of income, and telling artists that they have to put out more music, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's just like, Long, you got a project coming out that you've been working on for how long?
3 months. Not that long.
But you have to get in that film. It's not something that you're going to just that just turns on at the drop of a dime when you're in a creative mode. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
So you can't in a place where I have to make this music to stream, so that dude can get his money off your music. Essentially, that's whack.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you there. Go ahead, Lon. I'm sorry.
No, Terry's right. I mean, and the irony of what Terry just said is the project that I just finished up is 100 tracks long, is intentionally made for the short-term listener. It's made for to play the role of to work alongside people that are want to use music that's copyright free. Like, I'm playing the game, but I'm controlling it. You know what I mean? And so like But what Terry's saying, like, I put out an album a couple years ago that I spent many months on, and it was a lot. Like, you can't just like drop your soul into a project every month. Like, it takes time to build that shit back up and to have like content that's representative of who you are. Unless you're an artist that just makes kind of nonsensical stuff that people like. And I don't want to say nonsensical is kind of a bad term.
Some of it's nonsense.
Maybe more generic, I guess. But I don't want
generic.
But it's like it's a tough time to be a creative, but it's also a great time to be a creative, because as long as you understand that there's a long game involved, then you can do all right with it. But If you've enjoyed this segment of the New Old Heads podcast, make sure to join our live show every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/bringingdowntheband and join our private Discord community with talks on hip-hop, music, news, and everything else. Links in the description below.